The Prince, in his usual form of getting the best out of any project, commissioned a World Bank consultant to come down to River State and then go from community to community and get out what are the basic problems which has never been done in any part of Nigeria. So she is here to tell us what the observations were and then formally present the report to the place. And that is why we decided that some of our friends should be invited to witness the presentation.
Okay, my name is Ali Bedford. I'm the Managing Director of IDC. We do a range of things, including social baselines. And when I was asked to do this, I took up the challenge because I think it's the first time it's ever been done. In fact, we put together 472 qualitative and quantitative questions, which we took out to the 23 LGAs of River State. We got back 200,000 responses, which was quite incredible in its own right. It took quite a time to analyse the material that we had in, because when you go out to a community, sometimes you ask people a question and they'll say what they think you want to hear, what they want you to hear, or they'll just say anything that they feel like at the time. So what we've done is we've not just asked the questions, the qualitative and quantitative, we also took observations of everything we saw. So it is a very holistic report, which is on the perceptions of the people of River State. The results were extraordinary. There was some good news out there, and the good news relates to that most people felt that peace and security had improved. A lot of people felt that there was the developments in infrastructure and some of the laudable programs that our current governor has done have been great. But they have been uneven, and they've been uneven in certain areas, particularly the urban areas. There has been a lot of work that has been done. But a lot of people in the rural areas felt that they had been somewhat left out, abandoned. They felt that they weren't feeling the benefits of a lot of the programs that were out there. Interestingly, also, there was an increased political awareness. So we did ask questions on politics, and one of the things that came out is, whereas, you know, in previous times when I worked in River State and I've gone out into the communities, what they've said is the oil company should do this, the oil company should do that. But in actual fact, there's been a kind of shift in change. They're now looking at the government, the responsibility of government to make an enabling environment for not only business to operate, but also for themselves to be able to have sustainable livelihoods. So that was quite an interesting switch. However, of course, there's the same old, and we all know the story. There was a feeling of there was poor delivery of service, especially from the local governments. The corruptive practices still remained unchecked. In other words, everybody knew something was happening, but nobody is actually addressing them and taking them to court, or making sure that there is accountability mechanisms in place. There was a feeling that the urban-rural divide is getting wider. Now, I can understand why, in fact, when a new governor comes in and has got new ideas, that obviously the concentration to begin with is where the largest populations are, and the largest populations are obviously in the urban areas. But this idea of the urban areas, a lot of the investments have gone into the urban areas. There's a feeling that it has made even a wider divide between the rural and the urban side. Everybody still did refer to the fact that the oil industry Despite the recent United Nations environmental program coming down and looking at the state of the environment here in River State, that very little had actually been done to address some of the pollution. With regards to the failures, we asked, what do you, because we didn't, it wasn't, this was not just asking them what do they feel about this, what do they feel about, we asked them what would they do to actually improve it, what input have they got, what would they say to a governor, to their local politicians, what would they actually say? And they recommended, well, first of all, you should consult us. When you're doing a new program, talk to us, because maybe it's not the right program, or maybe it's not adjusted quite right. And the second thing is that it should be planned properly. They talked about the capacity building of the local people so they can actually take a more proactive role in the development of their own areas. They were particularly concerned about the implementation, so they hear that this project's starting, they get very excited about it, and time again they are let down because programs get half finished, buildings half finished, so there was a kind of disappointment. And they felt that really and truly, if there was better monitoring, evaluation and accountability of each and every one of the programs that were coming from the state, the good programs that were coming from the state, as it's being rolled out in the local LGAs, that actually that monitoring evaluation should be very rigorous and there should be more accountability. It was quite sad actually to witness some of the schools, and for this one I'm just going to keep silent. What was a little shocking is the incredible ability for rent-seeking opportunities, which are destroying development. And one thing that came out was relating to the local content, where it has actually been hijacked by job racketeering. And when you go into the communities, what you find is a lot of young men, many of whom are graduates, okay, who, when there are opportunities, local opportunities, because of the job racketeering, they're not getting the jobs. And if they do, there is so much rent-seeking opportunities at the end of the day that they end up, that the cost to get a job outweighs the benefits of having a job, which is particularly sad when there are so many young, bright, educated young people who do want to be part of this river state. It was also sad that many of the LGAs we went to, that the public servants, and I say public servants because that's what they're meant to be, public servants, that is servants to the people, were not on seat. I love the expression, not on seat. They were just not there. They were sitting in Port Harcourt. They were not coming into work. They weren't there to receive people's questions. They weren't there to actually support the local people. And that was very, very sad. And it lets down that those people who are proper civil servants, they are servants of the people, it lets down those few that have retained that old school, I'm a civil servant and I'm going to look after my people that are there. And that was particularly sad. Of course, those that were and said that they didn't think their vote counted. It was selection, not election. We all know the story. It's not new. But they were particularly concerned that when politicians come out, they make a lot of promises, but it turns out at the end of the day they're just empty. We're promising rural electrification, we're promising potable water, we're promising this, we're promising that. But for the most part, they're empty promises because the moment politicians get into power, nothing happens. Same old, same old. And especially in the rural areas, there was a palpable anger that a lot of the development is happening in the urban areas, and where the source of the money is coming is actually from their backyard. So they felt pretty angry about that and were fairly vocal. When we asked them what they would vote for, what characteristics would they vote for, interestingly they said character. Very few of them said they would vote for a political party because it's that political party. So they were looking at character. I would have hoped a few more would have said that they were looking at policies. But for the most part, they wanted a character, somebody who could actually make a difference. Which was quite interesting, I think. We asked them what they would do if they were governor. And they came up with a whole series of things. I think one person, tongue-in-cheek, said, what would be the first thing I did as governor? I think I'd take my family on holiday to Europe. But I think that was tongue-in-cheek. I don't think he was making light of the question, but it was interesting. But they did talk about to try and balance between the urban and the rural developments, that the rural areas have been neglected very much. In terms of what the younger people want, especially the youth, and especially the male youth, it was access to skills centres, because a lot of them are actually graduates, a lot of them are actually qualified, but they come out of university these days with a paper degree which doesn't actually have a practical application. And so what they wanted to be able to do is to be able to transfer the knowledge that they had at the moment and find and have access to skill centres which they can be sponsored to, so that they can actually get that knowledge that they had and put it into a practical use, whether it be to develop their own SMEs in entrepreneurial ways, or whether to get a job. But they felt that they were, despite their qualifications, they were underqualified to actually get a job. And for those who wanted to start their own enterprises, beyond the skills training, they were also looking for startup finance. And we found that when we asked the question about accessibility to startup finance, that was also lacking. But the biggest question from them all was that, okay, you come and asking all these questions, but is anybody actually going to listen? And that's the big one. Is anybody going to listen to what we're saying? Which is where I turn to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And formally,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
I think I have already seen a glimpse of this report, and I must say that it's quite impressive. The reason we are going an extra step is that it's important that we understand that if you are talking about change, you need to ask yourself exactly what that change means. And the only way you can get the true answer to that is by actually asking people. We had to drag her from Tanzania. So from Tanzania to London to here. And her and her team came and did, I think, an excellent job. The content of our reports are still somewhat confidential because they're very sensitive. But what we found from the report was that every local government has different needs. So the idea to say that River State needs X or River State needs Y is inaccurate. It's not that they don't need it, it's just that different local governments have different needs. I mean, I remember looking at one of your charts, and I thought you were going to show them, where you had about 15 different issues. And in various local governments, some of those issues had higher priorities. For instance, I remember Amelga didn't have an issue with light. To them, that was not a major issue. Their issue, I think, their priority were oil spills. Whereas if you go to another local government, power and light is a major issue for them. So what she has, I'm afraid this presentation could not capture it. is a lot of detail as to what people are asking for, what people want in variety of local governments. So we thank you. We are grateful for the efforts that you have made. I know your teams went to all the local governments, slept there, sometimes 2-3 nights, spent time asking people questions. And you know, to be honest with you, the report was impressive, but even more impressive was actually seeing the actual questionnaires and seeing what people were saying. I remember somebody saying that for them, what was important was that people actually listened to them. And I was surprised that almost 80% of them gave contact details. And I think the team, I'm not sure if the team members are here, you actually called them back to thank them for that. So your team did a fantastic job. I'm very grateful for it. And at this point, I've asked you a couple of questions already, but I think the gentlemen of the press and some of our political friends here may want to ask you one or two questions themselves. So at this point, I'll hand over to you, and anybody who wants to ask any questions, please feel free to do so. I'm also available for questions as well. So
I hope the message is very clear.
To the House. But please, a round of applause for us.
My name is Emeka Mepla, and that's for Society Magazine. The question I want to address is, I mean, the team had gone to the communities to do their work. What about those in government? Were you able to also sample their opinion? Why certain things that they do are not actually done as they?
Yes, what the team did is they had several different survey instruments, questionnaires. One was for the villages themselves, the people in the townships, the people, the townsfolk. The second one was for the local government public officials, and the third one was with civil society organizations. I'd like to point, I'd like to actually show you this, actually, because
You want to take something?
This is the actual report itself, which is a summary of the 200,000 responses that we've got here. And so everything has been captured. Every single question, every single answer has been captured in this. So this isn't a repeat of the same report. These three reports are actually made up of the interviews that we did with the people, with the local governments, and with the civil society organizations. And it's done in what we call a grand matrix. So it went on forever. There was a lot of work and a lot of analysis, but this is not, you know, copies of this. These are the research documents, the original material that has been transferred.
Well, I think what he's also asking is, and you are coming to it, you had different survey questionnaires for different groups of people. So there were actual survey questionnaires for government officials in the local government. And that was when she was referring to the fact that some people were not on seat. She was not talking about, of course, the citizens. She was talking about officials of government. But they conducted surveys with officials of government, and those responses are also included in the report. I also must say that the governor has also seen the report. The report is quite, we're not looking for things that are nice, we're looking for things that are not working. And so he is also aware of the things that are not working and what people are saying about the government.
Mike Iboye is my name. I write for the News Agency of Nigeria now. Thank you very much for the work you've done. Please, just for clarification's sake, some of the points made, you know, answers, are we supposed to write them?
Sorry?
Some of the answers we saw in the chat, am I supposed to write it for the News Agency of Nigeria?
Of course, yes.
We can?
Yes, yes.
And secondly, I'd like to find out, is the River State government aware of this survey, and have they responded officially?
They have not responded officially, but you know, I can't speak for the government. I have given it to my friend, the governor. I've also given it to his wife. So those two people are aware. I've also given it to the president of the country, Nigeria. So there are quite a few key people who have given the report to go and look at it. but I can't speak for Rivers State government.
And maybe a follow-up now. Why the survey? Why the survey?
Because I need to know. You might have seen my recent interview I gave where I said I'm tired of the taxi driver approach, where people want to know what's going on and they ask a taxi driver to tell them what they think about government's policies. I don't want that. What I want is for people to do scientific, proper research. If you've asked over 1,200 people, you've generated over 200,000 responses, it becomes more accurate. You go to other countries, and I blame the media a lot for this, you go to other countries and people sample opinion. But in this case, if I have an opinion, if I'm loud enough, my opinion looks like everybody in Rivers State's opinion. If your opinion counts, that is fantastic. If you are close to the governor, you can tell the governor. But I'm tired of telling the governor something, let it look like my opinion. I'd rather the proper survey is conducted and the proper research results are presented. Do you understand what I'm talking about? For instance, when the governor saw it, he was shocked about some things that had been revealed. But not only did we have names and phone numbers of the people who had revealed this information, we also had pictures. So it's a comprehensive work, and I conducted it because I'm not talking just about 2015. People talk 2015. If there's a problem, we can fix it now. Then let's fix it now. But the only way you can identify the problem is if you actually go out there and investigate the problem. And that's the kind of message that we want to send. Things need to be done properly.
I'm particularly excited about this baseline report. But my interest is this. Before now, we've seen several reports. There's the one done by Standard & Poor. There's the one done by Fitch. Many of them, I have a lot of them, which has praised the Rivers State Governor, Rotimi Amaechi. But this particular report seems to be contradicting that. And I wonder, okay, it's not contradicting, am I wrong?
I wouldn't say contradiction because actually...
Okay, perhaps it's given another view.
What they're looking for is they're looking at different things.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. For Standard & Poor, we know the kind of survey Standard & Poor conducts. And for them to give a good rating, in fact, the recent performance rating of the Rivers State Government was, they said rare, that was the title they gave to it, a rare appraisal. And I wonder, what are we looking at, and what were they looking at? How come are we having different results?
If you don't mind, I'd like to answer. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Fitch and Standard & Poor's are financial rating agencies. What they're trying to do is rate the financial prudence of the government. Completely different. Rivers State has done very well in those areas, and what we know is that it's even improving. So they started well, and they have improved, and they're continuing improving. But this is not what we're looking for here. What we're looking for here is people's perceptions on the field. Completely different. So it's like comparing apples and oranges. Also, I want to tell you that what we're looking for we're not looking for the things that are good. We're not here to do a report that sounds sweet. We're here to look for the things that are not working. We're here to look for things that are not bad. And we're not using it so that we can now take it against government. We're doing it so that government can know that this is what is not working and start to fix it. But of course, we also have ambitions to fix it in the future. So we need to learn what is not working. And the problem we have is that everybody wants to praise. Nobody wants to criticize. We want to criticize, but we want to do so constructively. So what we asked them to do was to go out and speak to the people, unadulterated, get what they're saying. And what we've been able to establish from this is that as a baseline survey, this is what is not right. Now, if we had done a baseline survey in 2007 and done another one now, we would have seen a marked improvement. Because don't forget that although a lot of things are not right, a lot of things have gone well. But we're not here to compare 2007 to 2012 or 13. We're here to say what is not right. And of course, by 2014, we'll be looking again to see what has improved. But the purpose of giving it to the governor was so that he could see on the ground, scientifically, what was not working. So he could start to correct it now.
Actually, the governor came out very well on this. Everybody said there was a marked improvement. The problem is that it's an uneven improvement, and certainly in the rural areas, they have not seen the improvements as you've seen in the urban areas. So actually, he comes out very well. And all the way, it was, yes, these are commendable initiatives. It's just that they're not filtering down and become realities on the ground.